Okay, so before I get into anything else, I've kind of done this. I have done this. I've kind of made those windows so far. I need to add their actual like functionality so they work. Um, but yeah, I mean, so the biggest thing that I need to do now is really go through and create a student class to, because I want to kind of collect all this data into students. So if I go into here, I can go into my registrar. I'm going to add a new Java class. Okay, good. It'll go through here. And I'm just going to call this student class, and we should be good. Oh, look, let me do super classes. Oh, fancy. Don't need to do that for now. Okay, and let's go into here. We're going to have a student class. I think I'm just going to do a basic class setup. I'm going to add getters, setters. I'm going to set up some private variables for my ID, for my name. I think I'll do GPA 2, and that'll just kind of default to be 0, I guess. And then we can definitely add more functionality into this, but just to begin with, maybe I'm just going to do name and ID for now. Okay, so I showed you, I made the name, the ID, like we talked about. I made two different constructors. One actually takes in a name and an ID, and it'll create an object. Otherwise, this is always a good thing to have, where it's like, if we want to make a blank student and then change their values later for some reason, it might be a good idea to have this in there. Whether we use it for now in our code or not, doesn't really matter. This is just a good thing to have. Make a blank student, and maybe we can change their values later. Okay. Let's make life easier. I need to add a bunch of getters and setters. So I could type all those out, but that's such a really common thing for Java, for you to write in Java. So they've made our lives easier. We go into insert code, getters and setters, and then it'll just say we can generate fields for any of the IDs, any of the variables that we identified. We can just check those off, hit generate, and boom, out pops all of those things. So you don't have to worry about coding for those at all. This will handle that for you. Maybe also I wonder if I can do maybe a public toString here too. Yeah, so if we go in here too, I haven't actually tried the toString because it's so quick to write, but insert code, and we can do a toString method. And let's see, do those two. Let's see what it pops us out. Return student. Yeah, so we can kind of reorganize that, but that's good enough for us, right? So make our lives so much easier by doing some auto generation. And that's it. Now I have my student class. I have my GUI visually set up. Now I need to handle the actual code in the background. And I think I need to go back to the drawing board to figure out kind of, okay, what do I want to happen? How am I going to store this data? How am I going to create students? What's going to happen behind the scenes? So let me go back to my sketchbook, and let's focus a little bit on what's going to happen, I think especially with this registrar option. I also need to maybe set up the add, what's going to, like changing scenes and stuff. But let's focus mostly on doing the registrar thing. Okay, so what I want to do here is I want to, whenever I hit the registrar button, so I'm going to enter in these names and IDs, and I want to be able to hit add. And let's see, a couple things that I'd want to do here. Let's see, so when I want to hit add, I think I want to store this in an array list. So I want to have like an array list of students, right? And I could just call it register for now. So I'm going to have an array list of students called register. And then when I hit add, so that's maybe part 1. 2, when I hit add, it's going to create a student based on text fields. And then, so that's like step 1, we need to create a student, and then we need to add them to the array list. And that should be about it. One other thing, when I add, I also want to add them to the array list. And also, I want to be fancy, and I want to erase the values that were in the name. So clear name and ID fields. So this is actually good, because if we want to clear these fields, like this text field here, we'll actually need to have we need to know like which text fields to go into. So we'll need to have an ID for them, which means it's really good that we made an FX ID in the previous video, because now we actually, even though we said maybe I'm not sure how we'll use this, we can now access that and be able to edit it and kind of remove stuff from it. So that's really nice. That'll be really helpful here. And we could do some other stuff in here. If I kind of break this into subparts, I could break this into like validate. Probably that'd be the only subpart. I first want to create a student object, and I want to see if the name is, if it's a string, if the ID is a number, go ahead. Otherwise, I guess I could do like if yes, No. Validate, we check to see if the name is in a string and ID is a number, then add student. Else, we should probably pop up something or give them some sort of warning. We could have maybe like a text area in here where it's going to say provide a warning. We could also do a pop-up window, but yeah, so we'll do that. So that's basically it. We'll have a kind of an array list. When we hit add, we're going to check the student data, and then we'll add them to the array list. I think I'll just do this first, do 1, 2, 3 first, and then I'll see if I can go back through and do some validation to make that a little bit better. And this would be like the heart of our project.